Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Thursday, January the 11th, 2024. Thursday, January the 11th. Well, I mean, it was a pretty good episode. It's a great little wrap up, close to the tribute to Bobbie, Jackie Zeman, aka Bobbie Spencer. Um, we have this day, the reporter, remember Maxie was going to set up different people dropping into Kelly's throughout the day, so the reporter could interview them. I'd like to know, who did Carly give the keys to Kelly's to? Did she give them to Maxie? You know, she just said, "Hey, Maxie, here's the keys. Do what you do," right? So Laura was interviewed, and Laura had some scenes back when, for one, she was a very young Laura, 17, before she and Scott even got married. She may have even been 16, but I think she may have just turned 17, and she was going by to see Scotty. And Bobbie opened up the door, this little Miss Tart, and pretty much ran circles around Laura, had her running away from there crying. And then they had another scene of them later in life after Laura had been married to Luke, and Laura had Nicholas, and Luke didn't know. And Bobbie was saying, I guess she had confided in Bobbie. Bobbie knew, and she goes, "When are you going to tell my brother that almost that you married, that you have a son? When you were, when are you going to tell him that, Laura?" She goes, "I haven't. The time hasn't been right." And she goes, "You're just going to wait until the house burns down before you say something," right? She's like, "You need to tell Luke." But, bottom line, Nicholas had to show up and bust everything out when Lulu got sick and they needed Nicholas's, I think it was his bone marrow for Lulu. And actually, Laura sent for him, um, to be tested. So she always, knew where she could find her son. So anyway, that was a good little memory. And then Elizabeth told the reporter, about how instrumental Bobbie was to her getting over being raped as a teenager at 16, and she said, "Because my grandmother wasn't equipped to handle it. And Bobbie came over. Bobbie took care of me. Bobbie, you know, did whatever Bobbie needed to do to get her cleaned up, and helped her cope, and whatever they did, sure they got a sample or rape kit, whatever, you know. But Bobbie didn't do that. But she helped Elizabeth do what she needed to do. And she's like, "I was stunned and just dazed and didn't know what to do." And I remember, the funny thing is, I was watching it um that day. I was watching it, and I don't necessarily remember her being raped, but I remember her crawling out of the bushes. I think that had the biggest impact on me. Her crawling out of those bushes right after she was raped. That was it was very traumatic. And she asked the reporter, she says, "My boys don't know um, about the assault. So please don't mention it, be very vague about that time of my life." And she goes, "No, I will handle it very tastefully." Um, and then uh, Lucas came, and he gave some childhood memories, talking about, his father always wanted to give him a little nickname, and Bobbie wasn't having it. She says, "No, our son's name is blah blah, Lucas, whatever, spent Jones." And he says, "But there was one nickname his father had, and I forget. It's kind of a nickname, kind of like Slugger, but it wasn't Slugger." And said, "Oh, my mother had a fit with that," right? And said, "But then my older sister, BJ, took a hold of that nickname, and that's what she called me, no matter what my mother thought." And she said, "I was Slugger to her, you know." And that was a nice memory he had. And we had Michael and Jocelyn and Willow came by, and Willow talked about how accepting Bobbie was. You know, when whose wedding? I don't remember Michael marrying Nell, but she was saying, Nell's wedding, she showed up in black, but our wedding, she was very supportive, and so I don't know who did Nell marry that Bobbie showed up in black. Daily Recap fans, refresh, put in the chat what that was about. I forgot. And she just said how accepting she was to me and the family. And then Scott came and Lucy came, and Scott talked about her. And what the reporter asked Lucy, she says, well, from all accounts, you and Bobbie were not close. You weren't friends, but it seems you've shown up for her over these past few days, right? And she says, yeah, you know, we weren't particularly close, but we had this thing, you know, uh, and yes, I'm here because of how I felt about Bobbie. So, they had those nice little talks, and then Carly and Felicia are in Amsterdam. Carly's just out and out showing the bartender guy, or the guy running the little barista. Have you seen this picture? This is my mother. Have you seen her in here? And he's looking at it, he goes, no, I haven't. Okay. And so Felicia, they have earpieces in where they could hear each other talk. And Felicia said, no, Felicia walks over to Carly with the cup of coffee. She goes, Carly, we talked about this. This is not how you do it. Remember? She goes, oh, we've been here for so long and nothing. She goes, Carly, it takes time, right? So Carly has a book and Felicia has a magazine, or vice versa, at another table, and they're talking to each other through their little earpieces. And Carly says, as Felicia looked up and she saw the bartender guy, or the little barista guy, talking to a woman. And the way he was talking, because he goes, my mom, she would meet someone here. And he's like, I don't know. And he was just talking to her, and Felicia got the vibe. Okay, the way he was talking to her, he couldn't hear everything they were saying, but the body language. Felicia's like, Carly, now don't turn around. But I think we found your mother's contact. And Carly's like, what? She was doing everything but trying to turn around. And so the woman finishes talking to the guy. She's getting ready to head out, and Carly jumps up. Excuse me, excuse me. Do you know my mother? And she says, she shows her the picture. This is my mother. Do you know her? And the lady's like, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. And she goes, and I think Carly said, my mother, Bobbie. Just, but Bobbie died. And the lady stopped, and she sat down at the table and she talked to them. And Carly says, we found out that she was helping women. And the lady looked, she goes, how did you find that out? She goes, there was a reporter that came to Port Charles for my mom's memorial service. And she told us that she was doing a article on my mom. And she goes, well, that's strange, because what we're doing is a very confidential nature. And the anonymity has to be there. And she goes, no, my mom did not give her any name. She goes, any names, didn't give up any contact, which is why we didn't know, we just came here. She said, because we found out that my mom was trying to help one last person get out. And I'm here to see, did she make it out, to safety? And so the lady said, well, that would be, what's the girl's name? That would be Cornelia. And she said, okay, Do you know where Cornelia is? Do you know if Cornelia made it? She goes, no, only your mother knew. She goes, wait a minute. When did your mother die? She goes, she died here. And she's told her when, and she goes, okay, then Cornelia was sent away before that. And that poor girl is just waiting, probably hungry, wondering why Bobbie did not come, because Bobbie would help keep them, give them a place to stay until their paperwork for asylum came through. And so she goes, do you know where that place would be? Carly's asking. And she goes, no, only your mother knew. She goes, well, can you think? Is there anything your mother, my mother would have said to you? She goes, the only thing she said to me is the place was close to the States, United States, and the girls would be safe. The women and girls would be safe in a cabin. That's all I ever knew. She goes, oh my God. Cardi says, I know where Cornelia is. So now Felicia gets up. Felicia calls um, Anna, and Anna's with Robert. By the way, did anybody catch Robert's got some kind of throat thing going on? Like Robert's getting over the flu or something, because his voice was cloggy and raspy and everything, right? So Felicia asked for help. They needed expedited paperwork and told them, where they were and what they were doing. And so Anna put Felicia on speakerphone and said, Robert is here. And she goes, my contacts are burned at the WSB, but let's see if Robert can do anything. And Robert says, let me think. I'll get back to you. So they hang up with Felicia, and Robert told Anna, I think I have a contact that might be able to help, because he goes, I don't have a lot of WSB contacts anymore. He said, but I do have some folks that owe me a favor. So they're working on that. And next thing we see is Carly and Felicia driving, and they're now in Canada. So they went from Amsterdam to Canada. And all this pretty much is happening in the same day, right? Or through the course of a day, because it's the next morning the reporter's doing all the interviews. So pretty much, in the course of a 1 day turnaround. And Felicia ends up having to swerve off the road because a moose comes out into the highway, and Carly's head gets cut, but they're okay. And just the tire blew out, and they had to change the tire. And then they kind of talked as to why they were never close. Felicia being Bobbie's best friend, why was Carly and Felicia never in each other's orbit? And Felicia told her, because when you came to town, you set out to destroy my best friend's life. And I saw you dismantle her marriage. And I was the one that Bobbie cried to. That part of her life was difficult. And she says, and it was because of you, and I resented you for that. And Cardi said, that's fair. That is because that's exactly what I did, right? And she says, but throughout the years, Bobbie forgave you. And you and Bobbie built a relationship. I shouldn't have been just holding that against you all these years. She goes, I'm sorry for that. And so Cardi says, and one reason I was not close to you is I was here all those years Maxie was growing up, and Maxie resented you for not being there. I was here watching all of that, and she needed her mother, and you weren't there. And she says, that's fair. I wasn't. And Felicia was horrible. For her, and like I said, her and Frisco jumped them kids off on their brother and never looked back. And she says, Carly said, but Maxie has forgiven you, and you and Maxie have a great relationship. She says, I shouldn't be holding that against you either. I'm sorry for that. And so they said, you know what? We'll start new. We will just start from today. So they kind of made a little pact. They changed the tire and they get to the cabin and they're knocking on, because that's Luke's cabin in Canada. Knocking on the door, knocking on the Cordelia, Cordelia. So she opens the door and Carly's like, we're friends, we're friends. We're here to take you. And all of a sudden, this girl comes out with a shovel ready. To Carly's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And she's, bending down. Oh my goodness. And Felicia's stepping back. And she goes, I will not go back. I will not go. She's thinking they're coming to take her back to Amsterdam to be trafficked. And Carly should have said, Bobbie said, I'm here because of Bobbie. She should have led with that. Not we're friends. They're not friends. The girl didn't know them. So finally, the girl's looking and she got the hammer up and Carter's like, listen, no, I have a picture on my phone. I have a picture if you just let me show you. And she looks, she goes, wait, you have Bobbie's necklace on. Why do you have Bobbie's necklace on? Where is Bobbie? And she goes, Bobbie is dead. No, she goes, why didn't Bobbie come? Bobbie was supposed to have been here a long time ago. And so Carly said, Bobbie died. And the girl looked, she goes, let me show you this picture. And that's the one with her and Bobbie, Carly's in her wedding dress holding the bouquet on one of her weddings. And she looked at the picture and she looked at Carly. She goes, Bobbie died? And she says, yes, my mom passed away. And we were just trying to finish what she was doing, trying to help you. So then the girl drops a shovel and she hugs Carly. And Felicia says some kind words about Carly. No, she is here to help, right? Whatever she says. So they go in the house and Carly's talking to the girl, young woman. And then Robert calls the contact that came through. So they got the girl the asylum paperwork and blah, blah, blah. And then boom, next scene, look, they are right back in Port Charles. Carly and Felicia walk into GH, and Maxie is there with Maxie and somebody's there because they're waiting for Felicia. Oh, and Anna. So Felicia walks to them, and Carly walks in behind Felicia, and Elizabeth walks up to Carly, and she goes, Carly, and you can see the cut, the blood, let me clean that cut up. And Carly goes, okay, So they are, Anna and Maxie and Felicia are hugging and they, said, we got the girl safe and blah, blah, blah. And then Elizabeth says, I heard talking to Carly in the exec treaty room, I heard what you were doing. And she goes, yes, we got the young woman to safety. And, there was so much about my mother's life that I did not know. She was helping women get free of human trafficking. I mean, they gave her this heroic story like they gave Epiphany, right? And so but before all of this, because this is the end, after Lucas had his interview with the reporter, he goes outside and actually Maxie goes outside first and Maxie tells her, listen, I would love it if you could stay. I could find more people for you to talk to. I would love to show you around Port Charles. And she says, well, look, by you arranging this, I have more than I need for my article. It was so good to hear of what everyone thought of Bobbie Spencer. And she said, but no, my boss says I have to get back. And she goes, oh, yeah, okay. And so Maxie had her card in her pocket. And she goes, okay. And so Maxie looked at the card, and then when she turned away, because the BJ, because that's who she was, starts walking away. And Maxie turns to say, oh no, Maxie gets a phone call and she's answering it. And that's when BJ's walking away. And she got the news that they found the girl and they're getting her to safety. And she turned to tell her, hey, my mom said and she goes, like, where did she go that fast? Right. So I think that's when she looked at the card thinking, I'll just call her or email her the update. So she put it back in her pocket and she goes back inside of Kelly's And now, um, no, this is after Carly made it back. This is after Carly um, and Felicia made it back because Carly is inside of Kelly's with Elizabeth and the sign, and Lucas was there too. So this is before Lucas left. And they're looking at how beautiful that sign was, and this is perfect, this is great. And they're not showing us the sign. And Lucas says, it's time for me to go. I have to catch my flight. And Carly says, you can't stay. He goes, no, I've got to get back. So she goes, well, don't be such a stranger. And Blake goes, I won't. So Lucas walks outside, and the reporter chick is standing against the brick wall looking at him. And he goes, hey, they were looking for you inside. And she says, no, she's leaving. And she goes, it was nice to meet you. And he goes, it was nice to meet you too. And he goes, whatever they're saying. And as he turns around to leave, she goes, bye, Slugger. Whatever that nickname was, I'm just taking the name Slugger. Bye, Slugger. And he stops walking. And he turns around and she's gone. And he's like, what's that? You know? And Maxie was on her at home because now everybody's home. Maxie and Felicia went home or to Maxie's place, and Maxie is looking up trying to find information on the reporter. And Felicia comes out and she goes, "Oh my goodness, how long did I sleep?" And she goes, "You needed the rest, Mom." She goes, "Mom, I can't. I lost that reporter's card." She goes, "Well, she's got to be online." She goes, "I've been looking online and I can't find anything." And so Felicia says, "Look, I will see what information I can find." She goes, "Look, you've done enough with F." She goes, "No, you know what? That's the PI in me. Let me dig her up." So Felicia leaves, and Maxie's still trying to do Google and trying to figure out why. And her heart is telling her, like, there's some kind of connection here. And Felicia is calling the company that the girl said she worked for. And the lady's like, we have no one by that name working here. She goes, no, are you sure she was here? She was doing a cover story on Barbara Spencer with human trafficking and this, and this. And she goes, I've been here for over 40 years. We don't have anyone by that name. So Felicia hung up the phone, and she's thinking, there was something about that girl's eyes. Right? There was something because she told her. Remember, I said she goes, your eyes. So anyway, it hit her. BJ. How they came to that conclusion, I don't know. And right at the time Felicia came to that epiphany, uh, Maxie, after she got no such person, nothing on it, she's like, and she's touching her heart, and she's like, BJ. How, I don't know. Right? So Maxie jumps up, and Felicia comes running to the door, and they both look at each other like, and they hug each other. They're both crying, and I thought, well, that was pretty sentimental. I didn't quite shed a tear, but it was an emotional thing for them. Because what's interesting is, usually it's hard for them to have a child come back later to help somebody transition or coming back in people's, because children grow up naturally, right? It's easier when it's an adult that died to come back because they can age them down, because they usually try to keep the person around the same, looking the same as when they died. You know, it's easy for them to have Mike come back in visions because Mike was an old man. We really won't be able to tell the difference too much, right? But BJ, it's rare that they have a angel age up. That was rare that happens, because that would kind of indicate that angels can age. But I guess in this instant, they could take whatever form they want. Maybe, I don't know, but it was BJ. So that was interesting that they did that little twist. But really, the tribute was to have the actress who played BJ, Bobbie's daughter, come back and attend that memorial service, that funeral. That's really what it was all about. And I liked it. I liked that little twist. And I'm so happy the whole human trafficking thing, done, done. We not dragging it out, one and done. Half an episode done. I loved it. So then they had Carly. She's at Kelly's by herself looking at that sign, and she has her ladder and she's climbing up on that ladder. I said, oh my God, girl, don't fall off that ladder. you know, so she's falling off the ladder. I mean, she didn't fall off the ladder. So she's climbing up the ladder and she's hanging up the sign. And I'm like, what does this sign look like? It was bugging me. They hadn't showed us what the sign looked like. Bobbie's. They're changing the name from Kelly's to Bobbie's. And Elizabeth did that. And I thought, that's a great tribute to Bobbie, but a little presumptuous of Elizabeth, right? Kelly's was a Port Charles staple. And I'm trying to figure out, I don't think it was ever called Ruby's. Daily recap, folks. Has Kelly's always been called Kelly's? Or was it called Ruby's? I think it's always been called Kelly's. I don't think the name ever changed. So this will be the first time that the name has changed on it. So we'll see. And we'll see if they truly start calling it Kelly's, because remember, they changed the name of Jake's after Jake Weber was hit by the car by Luke. I mean, after Jake Morgan, Jason's son Jake, they changed the name of Jake's to the Floating Rib. It had been called Jake's forever. Then they changed it to the Floating Rib. So anyway, let's go to Comment Corner. Comment Corner. We have IM says, it was beautiful. Monica will be on top, talking about that wall of fame. Bobbie is the new standard for 40 plus years on the job. That was great. And then Otherworldly says, credits and applause to the writers for Bobbie's farewell. Denzel says, that crazy Esme is going to come back and find a way to destroy Laura, Ava, Dark Prince, Nicholas, Spencer, and Trina. She's gonna go after, meaning all of them. She deserves to be locked up. And Lisa says, Nicholas is going to use Ava to get custody of Ace. He will have all the ammo he needs to get custody. Esme is going to jail for breaking and entering. Esme will be neglectful in every way, and she already has been. Maybe I kind of don't know that train of thought. Maybe neglectful to her son. Like another person said, she threw herself over the parapet while pregnant with no thought of what would happen to the baby. She left him on his first Christmas with Spencer and Trina. Never asked about him over the phone, on New Year's Eve, and got upset when she heard Trina in the background. Oh yeah, when she was talking to Spencer, she didn't say how is Ace. And then Lisa says, I really hope that Esme doesn't take Ace to jail with her. It would be wrong for Ace. I can see her doing that to get Laura to pay for her defense. Otherworldly says, it shouldn't even be allowed at this point in the child's life. The bonding process is complete. If there is a bond, if there's a bond, meaning bail bond, Laura will post it. Yeah, Laura's going to post it because she never thought they were going to send Esme to jail to begin with. And Elisa says, I'm sorry about all the typos. before when talking about Felicia's squeaky voice. Um, the Nina thing needs to be handled. Sonny will, of course, forgive her. IDT. I I don't think I don't think he will. He has let go of more beautiful women who have done less, who were less needy and did less to him once they involved the cops. He can't trust them. That is so true. I am says he already has. Why didn't the bodyguards just take her things to the hotel? Because he's embarrassed. He watched Nina dismantle his life out of spite and called it love, yet was angry with Jason and Carly when they got married. I love Sonny, but he's never let any woman play him like that. I am says, and she runs her mouth. My bosses don't confess to priests. And then Lisa says Carly has no idea who Bobbie was working with. Crazy that Drew just let her go alone. Carly was walking into this blind. She doesn't have any idea what she is doing. No, exactly. That's why I'm happy Felicia went. And then DB says, no point in him tagging along, only to get knocked out and kidnapped. Soon enough, he'll be shaking his head when he confirms he was a placeholder in Carly's life. I know, let Jason come back. And then Lisa says, why did Felicia's voice go back to the annoying squeaky voice? I think it's because she's not in the hospital setting right now. When she was at work, I think she professionalized it up, but it's not as bad as it used to be. They said it, we watched closely, we would get a surprise for the older GH watched, or maybe fans. The reporter is going to be grown up BJ. Wow. Very sneaky and an awesome tribute to Jackie Z. Yep, it was. Linda says, I love the fact that BJ was at Bobbie's funeral. I cried with Felicia and Maxie, and DL says, me too. I am says, Esme and Nick are facing criminal charges. Both committed felonies. Nick would end up with, neither would end up with Ace. And P. Merle says, now that would present a tricky development for both. If Esme presses charges against Nick, she'd have to admit her memories were bad. Nick would have to make a deal with his son. Wait, so his son won't end up in foster care. Of course, the family would take Ace, but I have no faith in court judges on GH. And I am says the only one that they would consider is Laura. She's the mayor. Spencer has a criminal record too. He could pull a Michael and marry Trina, but Trina does not want to be a mom right now. And then Lucy says, I'm not sure who packed their suitcases faster, Felicia or Carly. Good thing these two ladies are going to Amsterdam together. I agree. And then I am says, has anyone heard that Eaton McCoy, who plays Joss, is taking a break because her mother died of cancer? You know what? I did read that. I did read that. And then, and you know what? Our condolences go to Eden McCall and her family for the passing of her mother. And then Cheryl says, yes, her mother passed away. I saw it on the internet. And then Cheryl says, Lucas did get us to speak at the service. I missed that then. At first, I didn't remember she had a son. Years ago, I stopped watching the soap, but Ava is scared. You mean scared of Cyrus? He was her A in the hole. That's why she called him Ace. Now you flip to Esme. Uh, yeah, she called him Ace. Hello there says, yes, thank you for mentioning that. It's nice that someone brought it to our attention here. Condolences to all concerned. Yes, indeed. And then user QG says, Charlie's Angels, that would have been great. the ladies working together. I would have liked that too. And then I am says Jackie has two daughters. Brighton, you mean the one that played BJ, their adopted daughter BJ, and then she had Carly. This may be how they bring Jason back. Well, they didn't. Um, why didn't Felicia bring Anna? I know she would have been perfect to go to get her away from Valentine and Charlotte. By the way, we haven't seen Valentine or Charlotte. Valentine must be off filming. P. Merle says, I was thinking that Anna would go also. I'm glad Drew didn't go. Scout needs him right now. Does Drew ever think of Scout? Really, really, everybody? Just to put her in some private school, that's it. Dacia says, Carly will spot Jason Morgan at Bobbie's grave. She'll be shocked. I don't know. Dacia also says, Esme should stay away from Heather Weber. Um, she's poisoned. She's poisoned her mind. Esme changed her evil ways, turning over a new leaf in life. Esme needs to let the past go and stop getting vengeance on people. If anyone noticed that Esme always have her hair down now, and she does, right? Sometimes she would have a ponytail. She's starting to act and dress the way she used to. And then DL says, so cool that they got the actors who played BJ all those years ago to come back as a reporter. Frank Valentini could really make connections when he wants to. I think the whole trafficking story, however long or short it is a good one and a great tribute to Bobbie, the actress. I know we all wanted the tribute to take place months ago, but I'm so happy they waited until the original writers came back off of strike. Some things are worth waiting for, and Jackie Z deserves the best um, from her TV family on screen and off. Yeah, you're right. Well said, Lisa says to DL. And then let's see, you know what? I'm almost done, everybody. Well said. And then Linda says, I can't wait for Steve Burton to make his way back to Port Charles because I know a good storyline is coming for Jason. No one will be the happiest. Who will be the happiest to see Jason? Sonny, Carly, Monica, Michael, Drew, the Q family. It's going to be Carly. I think Sonny and Carly will be the happiest. It's going to be Carly, then Sonny. They both need Jason's wisdom. I am says Drew is going to be heartbroken. Carly will end up with Jason or Sonny. Um, Backdrop says to I am maybe, but I'm a bit concerned about him. He's acting weird after being in prison. And then I am says, um, you're right. It's almost as if Victor has reactivated Drew. He's mean, he's angry all the time. That's more than jail. And then Clemmy says, I think that is where Carly is going to see Jason. Well, I don't think so. And then DB says, hi, Daily Recap lady. Um, here, here to hit like. Oh, okay. I don't like this HT or human trafficking storyline, but I love them taking time to process Bobbie's death. And then another worldly says, is HT human trafficking? And then another worldly says, the storyline for Epiphany and Bobbie, both let them die as heroes. Yeah, and HT was human trafficking. And they did both die as human heroes. So thank you very much, Comment Corner, Comment Corner. But I have a question, everybody. Where's Dex? I haven't seen Dex in a long time. To me, I haven't seen Dex ever since he was in that room with Adam, drunk, watching over him. Did anybody see Dex at Bobbie's funeral? You would have thought he would have been there with Jocelyn. I don't know. But anyway, where is he? He's got a nice long break. He's not even bodyguarding for Sonny right now. So maybe the actor, I don't know, did he get hurt? Did he need some time off? Or maybe they're kind of don't really want him on scene with this new Joss because the chemistry just really isn't there. with those two. It really isn't. So anyway, I will be back with another daily recap of General Hospital.